Hi, this is Steve Morse from Deep Purple, and you're listening to Sonic Perspectives.
Hello everyone, it's Rodrigo here bringing you another interview for Sonic Perspectives. We are beyond excited to bring you today an interview with the amazing Steve Morse from the Dixie Dregs, Flying Colors, Deep Purple, and more. Without further ado, Steve, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for doing this, Rodrigo.
Yeah, no problem. Well, let's talk about Deep Purple's new album, Whoosh, which has had a great response from the fans so far. And from what I read, it was as fun to make as it was to listen to, right?
Yeah. The band works, we work well together, and when we're in the room writing stuff, it just feels very natural. And just like brothers and sisters, sometimes we argue, but we also have a judge that comes by every once in a while and administers his opinion like King Solomon, and that's Bob Ezrin, our producer.
Yeah.
If we have a disagreement, we just say, hey, let's just let Bob decide which version is better.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Well, it's the third collaboration with him in a row, and he seems to have found like a balance between the comfort feel of working with someone you trust, but also challenging you and bringing the best out of every member, right?
Yes, there are lots of challenges. In fact, he says guitar solos with me is the most challenging thing he's ever done in his life. No, he doesn't say that. He just, I think just, he wants to hear melody that is exactly what he's hearing in his mind sometimes. And we don't always agree about what's going to be the best way to approach it. Sometimes I think, it should be more just the way that I was interpreting it, of course. But in the end, I have to trust him because he has the big vision, the overall view that I can't have because I'm too involved. So yeah, he'll do solos on guitar is he's done a lot of early Pink Floyd to Kiss and a lot of Alice Cooper stuff. Yeah, and he even worked on a Kansas album, the last one when I was with the band, the in the Spirit of Things. So yeah, I've already worked 4 albums with him, so he knows me, and we joke around a little bit, and you'd hear in a locker room people making fun of each other, and joking about stuff.
Right, and I wonder what stage of completion do you bring the songs to the sessions? Do you bring like full songs, or half of them built, or just the riffs, or
with anybody I'm writing with? I prefer if nobody brings in a full song, because by the time you bring in a full song, you've already got it established in your mind that's the way it should be. Invariably, it's going to get changed and probably going to get thrown out, and people get their feelings hurt. So I always say, just bring in an idea, a starting point, if anything. And if everybody likes the starting point, then we'll go from there. So I bring in lots of ideas, and that's sort of my job is to come up with ideas that I like, but that the band might like. I just never know. And I can't get offended if they don't respond to it. The British guys that have been Deep Purple for 50-something years, they should decide which things are fitting the always evolving future. So yeah, I just keep bringing stuff, and when somebody else has an idea, then I'm real quick on it. And if there's any lines or any instrumental parts, I really try to jump on those fast. As soon as I hear somebody say, maybe we could have a little instrumental thing going, like, oh, I got an idea. Let's do it this way. Part of the reason that I do it so quickly is because I don't want Don to beat me to it, because Don, he's a keyboard player or a guitar player. That a really good keyboard player can come up with stuff that's really hard to play guitar. That's easy for them to play keyboard. So I try to I come up with stuff that's natural for me to play because it makes it easier for me to remember, and of course makes it easier for me to play.
I
So
understand.
we're always racing like it's same thing. Flying Colors with Neil Morse.
Mm.
We do the same thing. We're trying to be the first one to hit the buzzer.
Well,
Like in those game shows.
yeah. Well, Neil's quite a competition because he comes up with amazing stuff like really quick, right? So challenging.
Instantly.
Yeah, I get the challenge. One thing that didn't escape me on Whoosh is the visual identity this time around. I mean, the logo on the cover is the same as the one on the first album. The color scheme has that vintage purple color. What's the intention there with the visual aspect, and who in the band deals with this side of the business?
Well, they float stuff like that to everybody. The new manager, Matt Clark, he makes sure that everybody's involved and gets a copy of everything. So they'll send proofs of artwork, and everybody gives their opinions.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that Purple had more than one kind of logo, and I don't like to think of a band as a big corporate entity or giant, and brand identity and all that stuff is important in sales, but I'm not really a salesman, so I look at things differently.
Right.
I'm just thinking, well, that's cool. That kind of fits. As more of that as opposed to, well, we're going to get a stronger demographic in this age group if we stick with the classic thing versus the modern. Or no, kids today are buying this. We need to change. There's none of that. None of that in this band.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad to hear that, by the way, because, I'm one of the old guys, the old-time fans, so I'm glad you're sticking to your guns.
We have no choice, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can't change now.
Yeah, but I think the blast from the past comes also with the re-recording of "And the Address" from the first album. Who chose that song, and what's the rationale to re-record a song from the first album?
Well, that's Bob's idea, and like on the last album before this, he said, Roadhouse Blues, with Ian and doing the harmonica would be perfect for you guys. Yeah, that sounds kind of cool. Let's give it a try. And so that's how that ended up on there. And his thought was bringing it full circle. He said this is the first song, according to Ian Pace, the first song that the band ever recorded.
Okay.
This instrumental. And so he put it last on the album, thinking, well, this is probably it. These guys are going to be, in ambulances, going to the hospital soon. This could be the end,
Yeah.
I've discovered through some careful investigation that the British guys are actually from a distant planet, and they're in human form, but they have a lifespan of around 300 years.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah.
it turned out that I'm still human, though. Just hanging around them is not giving me any more longer lifespan. So I predict they'll probably have 5 or 6 different human guitarists over the next 150 years.
Oh, I don't think I'll be around to witness all that, but I don't know, man.
I sure won't.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's not the first time that this lineup brings something from the past. You did it with Bloodsucker on Abandon too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good memory. Good memory.
Yeah. And I love how there's like a mini prog suite in the middle of the album with The Power of the Moon, Remission Possible, and Men Alive being somehow connected, right? Can you talk a bit about how these songs are kind of sewed into each other?
I think Bob actually mentioned doing that because, he heard us doing the intro of Power of the Moon and Man Alive. Those they were orchestral sounding, like Don was playing this really cool oboe sample.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was playing the chords of Man Alive, and it was a nice setup for something like that. And he often does things like try to get us to connect the dots in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like on the last album, the Uncommon Man intro was him saying, just start from nothing and go somewhere and just end it, and we'll go into the tune.
Okay.
And so as we did all that in one take, it was the live version, of us doing it in the studio, which I love. I love having moments like that where you can't duplicate it. and there's no click, no time, no, you had to be in the room looking at each other, or else you
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah. Spontaneity too, right? There's an element of that in there.
Yeah, and it's spontaneity is illegal in most countries these days. So I'm glad we got to sneak it in.
Yeah. And speaking of the lyrics a little bit, I know this is Ian's department, right? But it's incredible how they weren't necessarily written with what's going on in the world right now in mind, but they're surprisingly relatable to this whole COVID thing, don't you think?
When I listen to his lyrics, I hear two different levels. Like one is the obvious thing, and then the other one is I'm wondering what he's really trying to say, because well, for one thing, the band, the Purple, is officially a non-political entity, and we really try to discourage people speaking on behalf of the band in any political way, because obviously it's divisive, and music, if people want to go to see a show or listen to an album, I don't think they want to be preached to or told what to think. I think they just want to enjoy it. So if he even says anything as lyrics that somebody might construe as political, there's a very good chance that he's speaking about something bigger. Like somebody mentioned in this, he had the lyrics, drop the weapon and live another day, and that, to me, that reflects his stance about the world and countries going to war, that you should try to de-escalate first or something like that, which gets close to political, but it's not written out as such, it's, and, over the years, every song that we do, he has some kind of little background story for it that describes, something different than you'd think.
One of my favorites of the album is the waltzing Nothing at All, with the amazing interplay between you and Don, and a little bit of Bach thrown in for good measure. Can you talk about this one?
Yeah, I really liked it because, it's designed to be interplay. Don does an answer, I do an answer to each of the vocal things, and then he was just messing around doing a solo part when we went to D, the key of D, and as he did that Bach thing, I think everybody said, "Hey, that's cool. It doesn't really fit." I was saying it doesn't really fit the time signature, but you're making it work somehow, and sure enough, he did. He just naturally mutated the Bach piece to fit into that time signature. So it was pretty cool. I mean, and it happened very naturally. And Don comes from so many different gigs, and he played keyboard behind silent movies at a movie theater. Like that was his gig for a while.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, just looking at the movie and playing something that fit. And that's the kind of hilarious vaudeville type approach he can do to anything is just instantly come up with something brilliant and have it be so smooth and so slick and so just seems so easy.
Absolutely, it's brilliant for sure. And another great Don Airey moment on the album is the keyboard solo on Step by Step. How did you guys do that effect where it seems like it's a record on the wrong speed?
That's him. Actually, he did that solo live. He was playing it on two different medios of the organ, I believe, with different sounds and with the vibrato and the Leslie's on. And you're right, it does sound like a little bit warbly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of my favorite things. And when we heard it back in the rough mixes and I couldn't hear it loud enough, I said to Bob, "Come on, man. You can't bury that solo." It's one of my favorite. Yeah.
One thing I said in my review is that the new album, it's an album that you can draw more songs for the set list, more than the usual 2 singles that you guys play. Do you think that's a possibility or not?
I think we'll do it. Usually what happens is we have like 5 songs off the record and then that we rehearse. And then in the first few shows, the band kind of decides if they're working or not, or if it's going to be too hard to be consistent with something or whatever. And Ian has to decide which ones are going to be too hard to sing night after night with all the other hard stuff like highway star, or whatever thrown in.
Yeah, I understand. And I do often revisit albums like Fireball and Who Do We Think We Are, and even more recent ones like Bananas and Perpendicular. And I think there's a lot more material you could draw from than just the classics. Do you kind of feel the same way sometimes, or that you can spice things up a little bit in the set list department?
Yeah, there's 5 of us deciding the set list, and Ian actually has final veto if he thinks, well, when I sang that last night, I was hoarse, right after that. So let's not do that. So we can change it anyway. But even if with 5 people, if you get your way 20% of the time, that's what the odds say is going to happen.
Okay.
So my set list doesn't get adopted, the ones that I've picked. But every once in a while, I can influence things. And like when I first joined the band, for instance, as I said, as an American, I don't recognize a lot of this stuff. I said, how can you guys be playing a gig without doing Hush? It just doesn't seem right. And so I kept on and kept on and kept on and kept on. And finally, the band agreed to do it. And it was the first time that Ian Gillan would be ever singing a tune of a Purple tune that he hadn't recorded originally.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because that was right, Evan.
Yeah. He doesn't do the Glenn Hughes stuff or the Coverdale stuff, and he never will, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, that's my take on it.
Yeah. No, fair enough. But when you joined in the now distant year of 1994, one condition I think you had is that you wanted the band to move forward and not be a nostalgia act. Is it still an exciting process for you, right, to start writing new material for Purple, or do you find that everybody still has that drive to move forward?
Yeah, they do actually more than me sometimes, I'll be like, all right, look, we got 12 songs. Let's work on these and perfect them. And, they're like, no, we need to come up with more for bonus tracks. We need to, I think it's weird to do work on songs that aren't going to be out on the album, or that something's not going to be in the album. If you record 16 or prepare 16 songs for the recording, they're just not all going to be on. And it divides your energy. So that's another area where I differ slightly from the band, but they're gung ho. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. They act like they're 30 years old because in the world where they come from, their age is like a young adult. And I didn't know that. Until recently.
Well, if you ask me, I think it's a fantastic work ethic. I mean, I'm a runner. I run with guys who are like in their mid-70s, and, it's a different pace, of course, but I admire them for keeping going on, and they have new goals all the time. Like, I'm going to do Boston. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that next year. So props to them. I think there's a lot for us to learn with the older generation, I guess.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm starting to feel like the older generation in the sense that that teaching and stuff like that it's not just something I enjoy doing, but it's something I feel like I need to do. That you have a responsibility to do. If if you've spent your whole life learning something, that you have a responsibility to sort of pass it on.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of the time that you joined, I find it funny that even though you joined in 94 and Don joined after you, sometimes people still refer to you as the new guy in the Purple. Have you noticed something like that? I see that all the time.
Oh, yeah. Here's the way it went. So Don Lord and I developed a great rapport instantly from within the first few minutes of us jamming together. And it stayed that way up until he retired after we did the orchestral tour. He retired to do more orchestral things and rather than just the repetitive, touring cycle. But when Don came in, I was like, all right, my seniority number, instead of number 5, I'm going to be number 4.
4, yeah.
But Don worked with Roger in Rainbow, right? And he'd also toured with Ozzy Osbourne, another British act. So they in the same room after we do our first gig together, and I'm seniority number 4 now. They start talking about soccer, which they call football, and I have to educate them and tell them a football is something you throw with your hands, obviously.
I beg to differ. As a Brazilian, I beg to differ. But go ahead.
I know. And because of Purple, I've watched Brazil play in many World Cups
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And great respect there from the guys, by the way.
Uh-huh.
But and Don is the most avid soccer fan or football fan, as you would say, and so are the guys because in England all they got is cricket and that. Yes, they have rugby, but they really follow the cricket and soccer, and so I went from serial number four, not serial number, seniority number four to seniority number five in about 5 minutes.
Oh.
As soon as he started talking about, hey, your team looked good, each one of the guys, because they come from different cities, they refer to the team from their city as their team.
Right.
So Don comes in, he says, well, you lot quite the game last night, talking to Gillen. Instantly, all the 10 years of experience I'd had with the band just went down the drain. And here I am, the new guy here.
Blame it on football or soccer, right?
I did. And I continued to.
That's okay. We all, as fans, we all embrace you. Some of us as the new guy, and some of us, we can't relate to your seniority. But anyway, right? Yeah.
But Don actually deserved it as a fan. We ran into his actual soccer team, Sunderland United, in a hotel somewhere in Europe, and we got to all take a picture together. And I told the guys, the managers of the team, I said, you don't know this, but this guy bought a house to be closer to the stadium so he could walk there. And if it's raining and you see very few people in the audience, Don is one of them.
Well,
and he goes to every game. He follows every game. He's the kind of fan you should do a movie about. And
wow.
they were very impressed. And it's true. He is just one of those guys.
Right. That's a bit extreme, but Let me ask you, while you're not touring, and that's obviously the case right now, what is your practice routine like? Do you do exercises or go through a whole show set list or free form? What do you do?
If I was closer to the touring start, I would be doing the set list thing. But right now, I practice every day, and I do a lot of mechanical practice to strengthen my hand, especially my right hand, to stabilize my wrist. Mm-hmm. I'm holding my wrist very stiff, and at first I was practicing with a brace, and then I learned and built the muscles enough to where I didn't need to use the brace, and holding the wrist very, very still and picking more from my lower arm and from the elbow, and it takes more practice to do that because it's less accurate, intrinsically, just the angles and the of it. Then I also practice 3 different ways of holding the pick so that it changes my thumb position and relaxes some of the tension there. Then when I play live, I go back to my old way of playing as well, which is rotating my wrist in 2 axes, holding with 2 fingers and a thumb, and muting with the right side of the palm of my hand.
Okay.
So, yeah, that gives me great control, but that's also the technique that gave me, helped develop the osteoarthritis after 50-something years of doing it. So I practice every day, basically,
right?
Just to play.
Okay. And speaking of touring, you did a very limited run with Flying Colors last year, and there's a new live album in the works as well. In speaking with Mike and Neil Morse and everyone else in the band, they're unanimous in saying that you're the limiting factor for the band to tour a little bit more. When do you think you have another window for a new album or tour or more work with Flying Colors?
Well, right now it's great. So, it looks like I'm not the limiting factor. It looks like something besides me is limiting factor.
Yeah.
I really hate when they do that. When we started this, it was a special project, something we were going to do when we could, and something we were going to enjoy doing. So, yeah, I don't like it when they say that, and it's not really true, because when Mike Portnoy is booked for a year, it's also a limiting factor.
But they said it in a good way.
Yeah, I know how they said it. I know exactly how they said it. But it's also, I love playing with those guys. I love writing with those guys. It's an incredible musical experience for me. But the very beginning, the charter of that band was that this is something we're doing outside of our full-time commitments.
Yeah. As an outsider, I have the same feeling. I guess nobody expected it to take off like it did, right?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get along really well together and really enjoy performing.
Hmm.
But that's music, you know. That
Yeah.
should be that way with all the time.
Yeah. And do you feel fully satisfied creatively with Purple and Flying Colors? I'm asking because we haven't seen a Steve Morse Band album in a while.
Yeah, and that's because I do have to put a lot of energy into these other writing projects, and by the time if I look at my life as a whole, it seems like I'm definitely putting enough time into music that my life is balanced.
Hmm.
That it's not like I need to add more projects and have more stress and more people pissed off because I'm not doing enough.
Right, I understand. So when it comes to writing stuff, riffs and solos and compositions, do you treat your writing stuff as a project like, okay, this month let's write the new Purple album and then flick a switch and next month, okay, let's go into Flying Colors mode? How do you direct your creativity?
I just if I'm just messing around and I happen to come across something that one thing that people that prospect for gold are good at is they can spot an area where there might be a gold nugget.
Hmm.
And sometimes when I'm messing around and improvising or just kind of looking for something different to do, I can spot an area where there might be a good idea in there. And so I dig and work on it and I come up with something that I like. And all I do is just record it and say, okay, well, I'll come back to that. And then when we're looking at ideas with Flying Colors or Deep Purple, I go to my recordings and say, do I have anything here that they might like? And say, I don't know. I'll just bring in some quick demos of these ideas, and that's the most I'll do. Rather than write a song that I think should be a Deep Purple song or should be a this or that.
Okay.
Yes, I can do that. But I like it better when it's something from the outside that just happens to be changed by the band into it. Like with Flying Colors, the song "Peaceful Harbor" was something I wrote for a totally different purpose.
Oh, okay.
It didn't have the intro of Casey doing the ooh that part.
Yeah.
But the verse and the structure of it was pretty much like the demo I had. But you just never know what's going to catch fire with the group.
Right. It's probably better to leave stuff for other members to contribute, right? Rather than presenting a finished song, I guess.
Always.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always better.
Yeah. And you did a great reunion tour with Dixie Dregs a few years ago. Did it feel more like a new door that was open for you, or did it have a sense of closure? What was the case there?
Oh, good question. It was both. It was the door that was being opened was the chance to do this again, and I loved that. I love playing the Dregs music, and at the same time it was a big challenge because we picked some of the stuff that was really difficult to play, like the bash, just a super fast tempo, intensive to tune, and some stuff that just takes attention to detail, like Day 444 we did live. And anyway, it was wonderful because we'd never played that song live before, and it had been 40 years since we had the entire original band together.
Yeah.
So it was monumental in those and many other ways, and I'm really glad we did it, even though it took a lot of work for me to get ready for it.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of work on the financial side of things as well, right? Because you want to make it a viable thing from a financial standpoint, not just musically, right?
Yeah, but Frank, our manager from the Dregs, and my manager Frank Solomon, he's good about scaling things. He'll look at the dates and do a rough budget and say, well, we can do this and we can't do that. So he made it work.
Makes sense. And what can you tell me about the G3 tours that you did? You played with guys like Satriani, John Petrucci, who had you as an influence and now share the same stage with you every now and again. What does it feel like?
Well, these young kids today, they come up and kick you in the butt. That's what John Petrucci did. He's wonderful, just amazing. He keeps getting better every time I hear him, and. He blows me away with his talent and his perseverance, dedication, and you put all that together with the amount of hard work he's done, and he's sort of untouchable to me in a category of a durable rock player that could play anything, with such power and grace. So
Yeah.
that I got started on John, and Joe Satriani and Steve Vai both. They also teach me a lot every time I have played with them, and when we play together, it's doing a jam exchange thing, and I'm really inspired by their creativity and ability to think outside the box on stuff.
Nice. I guess, contrary to my expectation, there's no egos involved in those G3 tours, except when Yngwie is involved in the bill, right? For the most part, there's no egos involved, and you guys feed from each other, right?
Yeah, there's no egos in terms of the negative connotation of egos.
Mm.
But I think you have to care about everything if you're going to put in the time. You have to care, and that means being concerned about how it comes out. And some people might consider that egotistical, which I don't. I think it's responsible to put in the time and to care about how it comes out.
Yeah.
And I like working with people that feel that way. And it pretty much, luckily, my whole career, I've been able to do that. So I feel very blessed.
Right. To close off, I guess there's no point in asking about touring at this stage, even though a few dates for next year are being confirmed. But what's the most recent update you could give us?
Well, we're just finishing our summer tour right now, the 2020 tour. I don't remember much of it. It seems like
oh my God!
But they booked the entire year a year later. So 2021 is going to be very busy.
That is the hope for most of us. It's been too long without a concert. At least for me, it's been months. Oh my God!
I agree. I think people miss congregating together, and it's almost just like in a ceremonial way. It's us celebrating the fact that we are herd animals. We like to get along and do things together, and we will put aside our tiny preferences of this or that in order to participate in something bigger. Everybody sacrifices to go to a show. If you pay this guy $10 for parking, just in a dirt lot, that's insane. But you'll do it to go to the show.
Yeah.
And you'll pay $8 for a drink or $40 for a T-shirt or whatever. Everything's always marked up, and you put up with it to go to the show, to be part of a big herd of humans doing something together. And same with a soccer game, a football game. And I think we need to do that, on a somewhat regular basis.
Absolutely.
The social distancing is cool, in as one form of maybe trying to deal with contagion. But, we've taken it really far in the United States.
Yeah. Same here in Canada. It's crazy. But, we keep our fingers crossed that things will get better.
I think our awareness will get advanced more so than the medical chances of a vaccine that works.
Yeah, we'll see. Regardless, it's exciting times ahead. Uncertain, but exciting times ahead, right?
There used to be a joke we said amongst ourselves. How many times have you heard the phrase "these uncertain times"? In a day.
I lost count.
To the radio.
Yeah. In the second hour of the day, I lose count. Crazy. But we'll see. Well, Steve, thank you so much for your time. I trust that you remain safe and productive on the second half of 2020.
Thank you, Rodrigo, and excellent job on the interview, and thanks for doing things like this to bring musicians and people together. And thanks to everybody out there who supports live music, because I think it's one of the most important things. The universal language around the world that everybody can agree on is music.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. All the best, man. Thanks.
Same to you.
Okay, everyone. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this interview with Steve Morse. You can listen to it also on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Also, please follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to finish with the song Throw My Bones from Deep Purple's new album, Whoosh. Take care and rock on.